Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing tonight?
I tend to do quite well on the nights when the Oilers are absolutely dominating. It never weakens my mood. It never makes me feel sad or anything. It always makes me glad. it's the joy of being a fan. The misery of being a fan is losing, but
yeah,
it's great when your team wins. And tonight the Edmonton Oilers beat the Boston Bruins 4-0. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's great when you win. It's great when you go into some famous building of some other famous team and stomp them, shut them out.
Is that a famous building?
Well, it's a famous city. I mean, it's not Boston Garden anymore now,
it
is
is
it?
a
But it's
famous
kind of
city.
like a
No.
continuation of.
Is there any
None
famous
of the
NHL
buildings are
rinks?
famous. Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, 100%.
Even though it's been renovated. Have I ever been there? I've never been there. Have you ever been there?
At least it's been renovated. All the other ones got raised so that they could bring on one of these huge 20,000 seat taxpayer funded palaces and give them a corporate name that never sticks for more than 5 or 10 years or however long the deal is, and then it becomes some other name. And it's pretty hard to build, and they call it a center, so you can't call it by any other name, right?
I just call it the downtown arena still.
Scotiabank Saddle Dome. They made that mistake. They called it the Scotiabank Saddle Dome, and everybody called it the Saddle Dome.
Well, it was the Saddle Dome first.
Maybe next time, yeah. They didn't change it to Scotiabank Place, which they mostly do because people don't say, let's go down to the place and watch hockey. They say, let's go down to Rogers and watch the game. And guess what? It works. Corporate generic building name means you have to use the corporate name to separate it out. If you can remember which corporation owns it at the moment.
Well, anyway, I do remember the name. Yeah, I remember the name of Edmonton's arena, but I always call it the downtown arena.
Mm-hmm.
It's an old and stupid grudge that I have, but that's why I thought Edmonton sweated blood for that new arena, and it should have been named after the Edmonton Arena. Would have been good in my books. Bruce, and Madison Square Gardens is a testament to doing it right in the first place. If you build an arena in the right place, which is right downtown, with the right footprint, which is big, you get it right. And that's what happened in New York. It was a big enough city in the 20s, I think, when they built that place to justify it. Do you know who was the promoter? I think it was Tex Rickard. I think it's the name of the guy. Could be wrong.
Tex, New Yorker named Tex, eh? Okay.
Yeah. Well, there was, Texas.
Yeah.
So yeah, all the other ones, even the Montreal Forum. I did attend a game in the Maple Leaf Gardens and the Montreal
I attended too. I loved it.
I was not that impressed with either, if I'm completely honest.
Loved Maple Leaf.
They weren't as nice as the old Edmonton Coliseum to watch a game.
I thought
the Coliseum was the best sight lines and the best sound, especially before they put in the luxury boxes in whatever it was, 1992. That old Edmonton Coliseum was a fantastic place to go to a game.
Yep.
I think much better than Rogers Place, the downtown arena.
Yeah, well, yeah, you got to, in terms of being on top of the action, so on. Anyway, when I went to Toronto, you might remember that the building was really squashed because there's a city street at both ends of it. So the end zones, the seats go straight up, and in the top section, they have rails in front of every row so that the fans don't fall onto the ice.
That's where I sat.
And I was on the first row of the second, or the Reds, overhanging the glass, and like the glass was like right down there, and I kept my thick gloves on just because no netting back in those days. But man, the view was incredible. Like you could hear everything because the glass was underneath. It wasn't blocking any of the sound. So I got a real first person experience in that building. Stumpy Thomas scored in overtime. Toronto beat Buffalo 3-2.
I don't remember anything about the game I saw, other than it was dead in the arena. Just really, really dead. I was at the old Buffalo arena too, the Odd. And Buffalo's downtown. I don't know what it's like now, Bruce, but I was there in the 80s for a game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. It didn't have much over like communist Moscow at the end of the
Buffalo.
communist run, which was like just the strangest, darkest, most disturbing city I've ever been in. But Buffalo was not much better than that. Anyway, let's move on to the game, Bruce. This
Let's
is our
talk
two good
about the
things.
hockey game. Yeah.
Two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast. What's your good thing?
Could name a lot of good things from this game. Well, I'm going to pick one and a little bit his line mates, Adam Henrik. And David, you'll know from the game notes, I had him picked out right away. As soon as I signed on, I'll say I'll take Henrik and that first goal, which I loved. But I loved Henrik's game all night. I just thought he was bringing it. He must have read the Cult of Hockey today or something, or his ears were burning because that was his best game as an Oiler, as far as I'm concerned. And two nice goals. The first goal, it blew me away. It was one of these plays that I gasped when I watched the play, and then I gasped again at the exact same moment in the replay, because I couldn't believe what he did. Because how he rolled off of the check along the boards, and it was like he anticipated what was going to happen. The guy came in to finish the check on him, and he got there early to where the puck was going to be, pulled the puck in, and he spun before the guy even got to him. He spun away from him. I'm not sure the guy touched him, but maybe if he did, he just rolled off of him and was able to feed the puck down to Perry below the net. And because he'd rolled off that check on the boards, he was able to keep right on rolling into the slot, where Perry found him with a return pass, and bang, great shot. So that made it 1-0 game-winning goal, as it turns out. And then he scored another goal from a similar position without quite the build-up on his part, but it was a three-way play between his new line mates and him, Zach Hyman winning the puck in typical Zach Hyman fashion along the boards, feeding it to Jeff Skinner behind the net. And Skinner finding Henrik in the slot. And again, he powered home a quick shot that overpowered Jeremy Swayman, who had a very strong game, but he didn't have any answer for Adam Henrik on his two shots, which both went in. But he did so much more than that in this game, David. I just kept seeing him good, moving the puck out of the defensive zone, killing penalties and clearing the puck, winning faceoffs. He was 8-1 on the dot tonight, 89%, Adam Henrik. And I just saw craftiness and good execution all over. I think, boy, this is the guy that maybe they thought they were signing, but I mean, he was right on top of his game tonight, and deservedly, maybe, because there's two pretty good arguments for first star in this game, and the Sportsnet broadcast had him first star, and the NHL in the building had him as second star behind Stu Skinner.
Yeah, I gave it to Skinner. I gave the 9 to Skinner, and I gave it 8 to actually a number of players.
Well-deserved 8 for Henrik. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
Skinner, I gave an
9.
8.
He was outstanding to me in this game.
Both those goals.
That's our word for outstanding, or a number. Is 9 equals outstanding.
Both those goals, he found that nice quiet spot on the ice.
Yep.
Smart, and he was hit with fantastic passes
by a smart veteran
Skinner
linebackers.
And Perry. Like Jeff Skinner made a great pass, and Corey Perry so patient, just waited, saw him coming, and hit him with the pass. Brilliant. Maybe Adam Henrik, Bruce, is smart enough, wily old veteran, that he doesn't really turn it on until second half of the season. We'll see. He's been marginally okay-ish, I'd say, in the first half of the season,
with a few really horrible exceptions. He's had like 3 or 4 atrocious games, and otherwise, 3 goals for 39 games. I mean, that's $1 million a goal. Like, you expect him to pick it up a little bit over that, and tonight maybe it's a sign. Interesting thing, that you mentioned Perry and Skinner that made the 2 passes to him 2 games ago. They actually were aligned together. And I didn't make comment on that podcast at the time, But that would be one of the very rare lines in the NHL where the three players on the line have scored over 1,000 goals in the National Hockey League. 435 for Perry, 366 for Skinner, 266 for Henrik, 268 now. Unreal, eh? Like their fourth line. They got 1,000 goals in the league. That's what I call depth.
Indeed.
Stupid eye.
Yeah, so hopefully Skinner or Henrik will crank it up. He was great in the playoffs, I thought, last year. So if he can crank it up, you got the stupid eye, I got the stupid cough. We're both hanging in here. Oh man,
I got one of those dry coughs.
I haven't noticed it, but I've been so busy coughing and trying to turn my mic off so people don't hear it. So we're both troopers tonight. All right, my good thing. It intermingles with the bad thing, okay? It's all going to be wrapped up in one package, my good thing and my bad thing. And it comes about halfway through the second period. And first, it all starts with a great veteran move by Corey Perry. He hits hothead Trent Frederick with a hit. And Frederick, he's looking to stir things up, maybe change things, or he's just really mad he got hit. I don't know what it was, because he just kept cross-checking Perry and pushing him. And Perry kept mouthing off. He just stood there smiling and mouthing off. I wonder what he was saying. Because Frederick just kept getting madder and madder. No one showed the whole sequence that I saw because they went away from it.
Went all the way down the other end, and they were still going.
And then there was a fight. So unfortunately, we didn't see how many times Frederick actually hit Perry without Perry hitting back. Then there was a fight, and Perry managed to throw about 10 punches straight into Perry's. Frederick threw 10 punches straight into Perry's helmet.
Perry, yeah.
I didn't see Perry getting punched in the face. I saw his helmet taking a lot of punches in the back of his helmet. So then
did you see Frederick's knuckles?
Yeah.
Going to the
all
box?
Red. That's what happens when you hit someone's helmet. So he's sitting there, butt hurt, fist hurt, and down 2 minutes because he's the instigator. And Perry smiling in the penalty box. And what happens next? The bad thing. They get a breakaway. The opposition team, Bruins. I think it's off a face-off.
Right off the face-off.
Kind of a weird play. I think Draisaitl put it back where you'd expect a winger to be, but it had come forward a little bit, and the wingers were out of place. Anyway, there's McDavid and Bouchard who are back. And Bouchard gets off balance, and there's three Bruins are charging up the ice, and he loses his man, can't chase him down. And McDavid, as a forward will do on defense, goes to the puck carrier, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of like playing the middle of the ice, trying to stop the pass, he goes and tries to head it off with the puck carrier. Maybe that's his best bet for stopping it. I don't know. I bet you he can skate backwards pretty well, though, and defend backwards just fine. But he then gets beat on the pass, and it was Pavel Zacha who goes in. A nice pass and a nice shot too, I think, actually. Zacha goes in, and Skinner manages to get his blocker on it. Breakaways have been a weakness for Stu Skinner. He can look mighty awkward, but he looked mighty fine on that one. Huge save, because the game at that point is 1-0. And if Boston had scored there's a game. The Oilers had dominated the grade A shots, and in total, the grade A shots were 22-13 for the Oilers, with 7-6 for 5 alarm shots for the Oilers. But up until that point, Edmonton had just dominated. They just were putting the boots to Boston. Anyway, they Skinner makes the big stop. The puck goes to the boards. A Boston forward gets it and makes a terrible pass, which Ryan Nugent-Hopkins picks off. Mm-hmm. McDavid charges up ice behind the two defensemen, Boston defensemen then, kind of sneaks in behind them, and Nuge makes one of the most gorgeous passes you will ever see. He hits him perfectly as McDavid cuts behind the two defensemen over the blue line, onside, puts it right on his stick, slides that pass over. What a great play by Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Mm-hmm. and Connor McDavid goes in. He makes about 7 quick dekes with the puck and puts it over the pad of the Boston goalie for just a fantastic goal. Bruce, it was between all 3 of those things, it was just like peak excitement for an NHL game. It was fantastic.
It was. They actually showed the full play on the replay during Sports Center.
Yeah.
They showed right from the puck drop and the full sequence without sort of cutting it up in the little 2-second splits, because the whole thing only took about 12 seconds right down and back. Yeah. It was McDavid that was trying to back check the guy, Zaka, and Skinner made the save and the puck went into one corner and McDavid went into the other corner and he just turned and zoomed up the ice. And the next thing you knew, he was behind all of the Boston guys. The guy who turned the puck over for Boston was actually D-man, Charlie McAvoy, their top defender. And it was a terrible play because, I mean, they missed the breakaway and he clearly was still thinking offense and he's trying to move, but he passed the puck back towards his own net and he turned it over, which is a real bad combination. And when the pass hit McDavid, if you get a chance to watch the replay, watch McAvoy. When McDavid breaks clear, he smacks his stick on the ice because he knows he's in trouble. When the puck goes in the net, he just kind of swings the stick over his shoulder. And he knew he blew it well before the puck was in the net, and he just watched it nightmare unfold in front of him.
Well, just imagine, eh? Like, not only do you make a horrendous turnover, not only has your team been thwarted on the attack you think you're going to score, but it goes under the stick of Connor McDavid.
Yep.
That's the last thing you want to see. You're just hoping so bad that probably your goalie makes a save. And, of course, he doesn't. Because it's Connor McDavid.
Well, McDavid from Nugent Hopkins and McAvoy is how I scored that one.
Bruce, what's your bad thing?
We only wish we had that guy. Anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, my bad thing is it's turned out to be not all bad, but it sure was bad in the moment when big, gigantic, mean, nasty, ugly Nikita Zadorov came charging up the wing and took the puck straight to the goal mouth and absolutely demolished Stu Skinner. Just head-on body blow. Body on body. But he hammered him hard, and Skinner had no choice but to stand in there and take it or else give up the goal. And, he was saying after the game, my first job was to stop the puck. And he said Zadorov looked to be about 7'2", not just 6'6", when he was coming in on him. And the potentially really bad thing was how Skinner's helmet flew off first, and then he went across and down, and he could have bounced his head off the post or the ice bare because the helmet mask had already flown off. I don't know that those things are anchored to necessarily protect for those kind of sort of double whammies. You get hit and then you hit the boards or the ice or the goalpost. Anyway, he didn't hit any of those things, and he got up, fairly shaken up, and the spotter sent him off. And,
is that right? That's what happened?
Yeah.
He didn't go off?
Yeah, no, he wanted to stay in, and the spotter sent him off. Just like what happened to Cal Pickard last year. It's the exact same thing. A little bit more time this time, 5 minutes and change. But as with Pickard last year, when Skinner came in Pittsburgh for a minute and a half, no shots. So Skinner made all the saves in this game, all 26 saves, including by my count 3, if not 4 breakaways. Yeah. And yet he doesn't get the shutout because he didn't play the whole game, even though he made all the saves in the shutout.
Oh, he doesn't get the shutout.
No exception for that. No, shared shutout. So Pickard came in and handled the puck once, so it's a shared shutout. And Skinner, in the post-game interview, absolutely unrattled, saying, had to hang in there and do my job. And they asked him about the shutout, and he just said, "Oh well, we got the win. We shut him out, and that's exact right attitude to have as far as I'm concerned." And anyway, so my bad thing is wrapped in a very good thing, kind of like yours, and the good thing being Stu Skinner and his fantastic performance in this game. And this was a weird game. Like, it was, Boston wasn't coming at him for a lot of it, but when they did come, they came hard, and they got how many grade A's? We didn't talk about that. And how many 5
we
alarms?
did 23 to what did I say? 13, I think.
Okay.
Something like that. I'll go back to the chart here, Bruce.
And 7
22
to
to
6.
22 to 13 and 7 to 6. So,
Well,
but it was mostly in garbage time, Bruce. The game
6-5
really
alarms,
was. The game was
goals.
over. I know they could have
Blackout.
scored and maybe tried to make a game of it like 3-1, but I didn't. I think the Oilers would have come, like if they got one against, they would have come back and dominated this. They were just so much better of a team tonight than Boston, in my view.
Well, they were the better team, and here's a stat for you from Natural Stat Trick. I'm just gonna have to find it. Sorry. This is expected goals from this game, which is somewhat in the same vein of our grade A's because they do factor in. Anyway, in all situations in this game, they had expected goals as 2.6 for Boston, and they scored 0. 5.3 for Edmonton, and they scored 3. On an empty netter. So both goalies saved, over 2 goals more than expected. It's one way to look at it. And Swayman, who had a great game to me, he could have stolen this game if Oilers had had a pedestrian goaltending performance, but they did not.
Oh, for sure.
They had an outstanding performance by Skinner, and he just kept it going all the way to the end.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime the goalies get a shutout, I'm happy.
That was a super dirty play by Zadorov, I need to say. He could have tried to cut across the front of the crease. He made no effort at all to do so. He bowled in as fast and as hard as he could and tried to smash heads, as far as I could tell, with Skinner. It was a dirty, dirty play. And I'm glad in a way that Brown didn't end up fighting him. There's no need to when you're dominating the game like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he should change his name. He's number 91. He should be like T91, which is a Second World War joke that few people will get. But it's such a dirty play, and he is such a dirty player. I mean, he would be great on the Oilers. I will preface everything with that. Like, I have an appreciation for that kind of dirty player. Like, they make a difference. They intimidate the other team. But he is a dirty player. He's a nasty, dirty, fearless SOB of a hockey player. He's like, he's a Vander Kane class intimidator. There's only about 5 of them in the NHL. Him and maybe Tom Wilson and
definitely Tom Wilson.
Vander Kane and there's probably a few others. Sam Bennett in the middleweight class would qualify. He's such a hard hitter, Bruce.
Yeah, I know.
So
Slater cuckoo.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I just that was a jerk play by Zadorov. I wish he got intent to injure in a game, but not to be.
Yeah, well, it was like he was a 6'6", 248-pound version of Glenn Anderson. Remember, we used to see those kind of plays from time to time when Andy was patrolling the wings here in Edmonton. He'd come straight at the goalie, and the goalie would have, didn't know which way he was going to move or if he was going to move. So they had to cover for all 3 options.
Not so dangerous with Anderson.
Creamed. Well, yeah, he was only like 185 pounds or whatever, not this monster.
Yeah. So, of course, he's not going to get suspended they won't even look at it. But watch his skates.
They gave him a penalty. I give the refs credit, David, tonight. They called that right. They called a penalty. And they called the one on Frederick right. Like he baited Perry. And they went to commercial. And I was swearing at TV saying he better get instigating for that. And my son Kevin comes up over the stairs saying they better get instigating for that. They didn't call instigating, but they did call extra roughing. And then Edmonton made Frederick take the skate of shame back to the bench right after that. And I'll give the refs credit. They called it the way it happened. Like, he did deserve an extra penalty, but they actually called it. So good on, not my favorites, Chris Rooney and Wes McCauley. But I think they got that right, and I think they got the one on Zadorov right.
I would have liked to see Zadorov get more, but
yeah,
an intent to injury kind of thing. but I don't know. That would have been appropriate.
Skinner said he came and apologized to him before the start of the second period, for what that's worth. He said he accepted it, and it's a hard game, and sometimes you got to take the puck to the net. It's his job, kind
of like when what's his noodle apologized to Darnell Nurse,
Reeves and Nurse, yeah.
Reeves,
Skinner accepted Zadorov's apology a little more gracefully than Nurse did Reeves, but
it was a bit more. I mean, he was trying to score, so you're going to take it hard to the net. So
he wasn't just trying to take his head off; he was trying to score. Yeah.
What's your number, Bruce?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go with my number's 5, but I may stray a tiny little bit. This was a very heavy, hard-hitting game. The Bruins tried to run the Oilers out of this game, I thought, and they had 45 hits in this game. Boston 45, Edmonton 18, and I tell you, some of those hits were absolutely massive. Brett Kulak got clobbered in the middle of the ice about 5 minutes into the first period. And to his credit, he got up and never missed a beat, and in fact led the Oilers in ice time tonight. Brett Kulak, 24 minutes. Ekholm got demolished in the corner by Lindholm. Yeah, his future Team Sweden teammate, I do believe. And Emberson, he got hammered like 3 different times at least. And they were just hammering everybody, Boston was, tonight. And one guy really stood up, I thought, and well, for Edmonton, was the guy who was becoming a favorite in these parts for a lot of fans, Vasily Podkolzin.
Yeah.
And Podkolzin in this game led the Oilers with 5 hits, while also leading the Oilers with 5 shots on net. So he gets my number 5 for this game. That's a good power forward that can lead your team in shots and hits in the same game. And he also, beyond the 5 and the 5, he made an absolutely stellar defensive play.
He did in the
deep
third.
in Edmonton's territory, where the guy looked like the guy was going to have the side of the net to shoot, and he just was so strong on the guy's stick that he couldn't get the shot away. But the read, he got in there. Louis talked about how he likes to keep his stick low and he doesn't take a lot of penalties, but he checks the puck and down low towards the ice, which is something to watch for. But he sure did on that play to cancel out that goal. Man, that guy is he's emerging before our eyes. And I'm not sure he's a star, but at this point he's a top 6 player with the Edmonton Oilers. And he's making $1 million this year and next. And he's going to cost a 4th round draft pick. I would say that's some pretty tidy business there by Oilers to get him into the fold, and get some pretty tidy business from him. He works his ass off. He's out there for like a half hour before and or after every practice, apparently, on his own, just working on his skills.
Well, look at since he left Vancouver, there's nothing but dissension on that team. And since he's come to Edmonton, we're all smiles. So
yeah.
He's the good luck charm. They must, I don't know how he played in Vancouver. I don't remember him that well, but man, they sure let a decent, grinding, physical hockey player go. Like he just seems like he'd be built for Tocchet's game.
Yeah.
But he's certainly built for the Oilers game, and he will be on the team. It's still uncertain. I think there'll be I'm going to guess about 2 forwards changed out for the playoffs from the lineup we saw tonight.
Yeah, very possible.
But Podkolzin won't be one of them. He'll be playing because the game that he brings will work in the playoffs really well. And he is a fine hockey player for the Edmonton Oilers.
Mm-hmm. Also, Joshua Brown 4 hits, and the Oilers had 18 to 45, and they had 4 guys with 3+, 3 other guys with 1. But the guys with 3+ were Podkolzin 5, Brown 4, Ekholm 3, and Nurse 3. Nurse really crushed a guy in the defensive corner there in the third period. So the Oilers needed to push back some. They didn't need to hit 45 times, but it couldn't be 45 to 3 or whatever it is they've been getting in other games lately. They have to respond to that. That's all. I don't want the team to lead the league in hits. I just want them to be able to push back when the time comes, and I thought they did an okay job of that tonight.
On Oilers Now, Bob Stauffer asks almost every guest, do you think that the big hit differential on the Oilers is a problem? What would you say, Bruce?
I think it's a strategy, David. I think they're really
yeah.
not. They're
I think you're right.
They had a long season and a short summer, which is a real compound thing, and they're managing their way through the season to be as fresh as they can be for the playoffs. And of course, they're also waiting for Vander Kane to get back, who's a one-man wrecking ball game changer in that department. He changes the equation. He's put him in the lineup, and the other team has got a different approach maybe to the game. And the Oilers have a deterrent, and their own guy will stir things up and cause problems. But I think they're just trying to work their way through it, and
just play hockey.
McDavid and Draisaitl that were playing physical hockey last year it's not like they're backing away. Well, maybe once tonight McDavid threw a tiny bit of snow in the corner, but there was they don't back away, but they're not instigating. They're just taking the hits and rolling off them, and Draisaitl at one point had a stretch of 15 games without a hit. So
that is a good answer, Bruce. That's exactly probably what's going on. It's like, let's just win with skill. Let's get our skill game going. We can outskill, because hockey really, it is a game of, it's not like they play with a lack of courage. They're playing with courage. They're just not playing. They're just not thinking we're going to hit. We're not going to go in there and throw 30, 40 hits ourselves like we will in the playoffs.
Bang ourselves up, running around out of position. We're going to contain, and we're going to endure, and we're going to focus on moving the puck out.
And the guys who are hitting are the guys who have been trying to make the team. Podkolzin, Emberson, Brown tonight, right? It's those guys. They've got to make a mark in the NHL. They've got to stake their claim to being NHLers, and hitting is one way to do it. So, and they're young guys, right? They're not 32, they're 22 or whatever the heck they are. And they're 24 or 23. And so they can recover more from hits. And they're I'm not sure what Podkolzin, if his hit rate is the same. It was really high previously. I think it's still pretty high, but he doesn't hit. He doesn't throw the massive hit, Podkolzin. He's just physical. He's just taking guys out by hitting them. So that's it.
I do remember that from his time in Vancouver. I kept thinking, you're supposed to be a skill guy, aren't you? And he would, hammer some guy. But now I've got a better appreciation for the breadth of his game, and I do appreciate it.
Yeah, he's an interesting player.
Yeah.
Bruce, my number is Stu Skinner. It's 902. His save percentage is 902. He's finally crept above 900. 900 being kind of, I don't know what the NHL average is.
It is the league average as of yesterday or the day before. Bang on 900. Lowest in years.
Okay, so he's that's great. Like you get the Oilers above 900 goaltending, they're going to win a lot of hockey games, this team. And the interesting thing is, we've talked in the past about hot and cold Stu. Well, it's been really black and white this year. In his first 14 games, he had 6 wins and 8 losses and an .876 save percentage. .876. Third week in November, though, he turns it around. And since then, in 13 games, he's got 10 wins and 3 losses and a .928 save percentage. Yeah. He is an interesting goalie, Bruce. He has been hot and cold, streaky since he came to the Oilers, and he's that way this year. And in the playoffs last year, he was both again, hot and cold. He had one terrible cold streak to start the playoffs, and then he got hot, and then he had a little cold spell, and then he got hot again. Anyway, we'll see what we get in the playoffs. If it's hot Stu, the Edmonton Oilers can win the cup, that's for sure. It strikes me, though, that as the team tightens up defensively, he plays better. He's a goalie who plays his best in front of a predictable team, and then he's really, really good, like he was tonight. He gets confident and he gets really good. How do you see
I
it?
think he's 11 out of 14 games now that he's been above 920. So, I mean, that 928, he's come by it honestly. There's a couple of poor games that dragged it down a bit, but,
Yeah.
you know, you put up a bunch of 930s and 950s and they odd 1,000 like tonight. You know, you're going to pull your numbers up. And he's also on the positive side of goals saved above expected, where he was well down in the hole early in the season. In fact, he was by one measure the worst in the league, or had the most against for the league. He played more minutes than some of the other guys, but as a raw stat, goals saved below expected for him was poor, and he's recovered all of it. And we haven't even quite made the halfway point yet. And I was thinking it's going to take you all year to climb out of that hole, and it didn't. And they're winning. I'm going to quickly pitch my number 3 from last game because I did it again, David. 3 goals tonight, 3 real goals, empty netter. 9 in a row where the Oilers have scored 3 goals against the other team's goalie. A few empty netters at the end, but 3 goals, and they're 7, 1, and 1 on 3 goals a game.
Alrighty. Well, Bruce,
they're doing it with defense.
Let's leave it there. They play Thursday night in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So let's leave it there for tonight. Thanks for talking tonight.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.